Very good evening to all of you. Today we will discuss the Pteridophyta, and Pteridophyta is a word which comes from Greek origin, and that means the pteron. Pteron means the chidiya ka pank, and chidiya ka pank is similar to the fern. Basically, as I just started the point of Pteridophyta, Pteridophyta are not only the ferns, but they include the fernales as well as the fern. And fern you can identify with the presence of the sori. So the sori is a characteristic feature of the fern. And you know that after getting this point, the Pteridophyta is a combination of fernales as well as the fern. And in if I'm just talking in a data, in Pteridophyta there are 400 genera and 10,500 species are existing throughout the world, which includes the living as well as the fossil Pteridophyta. Fossil is also the very important aspects for Pteridophyta. In India, Dixit 1984 clarified that 67 families, 191 genera and 1,000 species of Pteridophyta. In Kumau, almost 300 species of Pteridophyta has also been recognized. As you know that the term Pteridophyta has a Greek origin, and this means the pteron. The pteron means the feather, and the name was originally given to this group because of the pinnate or feather-like form, while the phyta means the plant. So the feather-like, the pinnate-like form, which is dealing with the plants, that is called the Pteridophyta. The Pteridophyta are treated as vascular cryptogam, as they have a well-developed conducting system, an assemblage of seedless vascular plant that has successfully invaded the land and reproduced by means of spore. So this is a technical definition. They are vascular cryptogams and they have well-developed conducting tissues. They have having the xylem and phloem. So these are the assemblage of seedless vascular plant and that successfully invaded the land and reproduced by means of the spore. The Pteridophyta prefer favorable climate where the more moisture is there, and it forms the conspicuous feature of vegetation and landscape. But unfortunately, this group of the plant has not received due attention by the plant explorer as flora writer because the difficulty involved in their collection as well as the identification. These are the very important evolutionary plant between the Bryophyta as well as the Gymnosperm. The Pteridophyta are the first group of spore-bearing plant, comprises ferns as well as the fernales. So these are the spore-bearing vascular plant which is having the ferns as well as the fernales. So fernales are primitive one, the ferns are advanced one. Ferns are the members of the Lycophyta. And the fernales are Lycopodium, Silagenella, Equisetum. So spore producing body is different one. As I just talk about that in fern, the sora is there. So sora is a characteristic feature of the fern. While in fernales, the strobilus is also been there. So this is a compact body in which the Sporophyll is there, and they produce the in a sporangium they produce the spore. The term vascular denote that the Sporophyta of Pteridophyta have a well-developed conductive tissues. The fibrovascular cylinder, it is consisting of xylem, phloem and other mechanical elements, and for the conduction of water as well as the food material. Thus we find that the Pteridophyta are the most primitive living as well as the fossil seedless vascular plant. The fern is a kind of plant which produce spores in sporangia. They are borne in patches on the surface or edge of the leaf. The patches of the sporangia we call a sorus, and presence of sori we can recognize a fern. The fernales, the Silagenella as well as the Lycopodium. As we just talk into the geological time scale and also into the ciliate system. So ciliate system has been originated, or the xylem and phloem has been originated from the Pteridophyta. So they are known as the initial vascular plant. And if I'm just going to the geological time scale, then the earth was born 5,000 million years ago. And this has been divided into the four eras: Precambrian, Paleozoic, Mesozoic as well as the Cenozoic. In Paleozoic, Silurian period is there, and in this Silurian period the Cooksonia has been identified, and this Cooksonia, which comes into the fossil form, it is the earliest known vascular plant has been identified. The another question comes in your mind. If I just talk about that these Pteridophyta includes the fossil one as well as the living one. The Pteridophyta have a long fossil story, and they are these has been recognized from Silurian period. The Silurian period of the late Paleozoic, about 400 million years ago. They flourished well during the Devonian period, during the Mississippian period and Pennsylvanian period of late Paleozoic, and the late Paleozoic period can be regarded as the age of the Pteridophyta. The tree fern, giant horsetail and arborescent lycopods dominate the swampy landscape of those ancient ages. Only the present day fern have somehow managed to conserve the former stature, density or glory of their ancestor. The Xylotum, Temazipteris are the two surviving remnant of Xylophytes which retains the primitive features of the first land plant. So these Temazipteris as well as the Xylotum, these are the two surviving remnant which is having the primitive feature that has been bore by the first land plants or the first vascular plants. There are certain characteristics which are associated only with the Pteridophyta. These are most of the living Pteridophyta are herbaceous, and they have some of them are woody also. Like the tree fern. All are terrestrial one. They are growing where the more moisture is there, where the shady places is there. They flourish well in open as well as the dry places and xeric condition also. Some Pteridophytes are aquatic one also, and some of them are epiphyte. So they are occupying various type of habitat, but technically in where the moisture is there, so they are going to survive well. The June, July, August as well as the September. These are the this is the time where you can find a more Pteridophyta are growing well. Once we are talking about what are the different conditions with the different habitat where you can find a Pteridophyta. The Marsilia as well as the Marsilia is an aquatic one. The epiphytic one is a Polypodioides, and also the Polypodium, the Pteris. These are the species which are going well. Equisetum, the Lycopodium, Silaginella. These are the Silaginella, Lycopodium, and Equisetum. These are known as the fernellis, while the Pteris and others are where the sora is there. These are known as the fern. The plant body of the Pteridophyta is this is a visible what we can say the plant body which is consisting of vascular cryptogam, which possesses an independent Sporophyta, and this is also the comparison between the Bryophyta as well as the Pteridophyta. In Bryophyta, the visible plant body is a Gametophyta, while in Pteridophyta the visible plant body is a Sporophyta. And this is having the in Pteridophyta, visible plant body is a Sporophyta, and this is consisting of vascular system. It is conspicuous and which is familiar with the plant body with great variation in form, size and structure. It developed from the zygote a diploid cell, which results after the fertilization of the eggs as well as the anthrozoids. The Sporophyta plant body remain differentiated into the true roots, stem as well as the leaf. Some primitive member lack true roots and well-developed leaves, example the Xylophytes as well as the Xylotails. The branching patterns of the Pteridophyta may be the monopodial as well as the dichotomous type. There are two major categories of form and structure. One category comprises of megaphilous type and another one is called the microphilous one. In a megaphilous, the leaves are larger than the stem. For example, the fern. Then the second comprises of microphilous type in which the leaves are quite small in relation to the stem. So this is the Lycopodium as well as the horsetail. In this case the leaves are dominating in the first case in megaphilous. In the second case the leaves are not dominating there. So the size megaphilous as well as the microphilous is there. Then the another one is that the Sporophyta produce spores which are produced in sporangia. In some Pteridophyta, the sporangia develop on a stem. If it is developed on a stem, this is called colline, and if it is developed on or this is born onto the leaf, this is called the foliar, or this is usually developed into the axil of the leaf. The leaves that bear sporangia are called the Sporophyll. The very clear one, the leaves that bear sporangia are called Sporophyll. The Sporophyll are the widely scattered on the plant, example the fern, or it may be as sorai, as we just talked about that the sorus, and plurally this is known as the sorai. or it may be clustered into the definite areas of a structure, and these are called the cones or strobilus. The best example may be the Selaginella as well as the Equisetum. In certain Pteridophyta, the sporangia are produced with a specialized structure, the sporocarp, the Marsilia, Salvinia as well as the Azolla. Another interesting point of the Pteridophyta. The sporangia in all Pteridophyta is initiated by the laying down of cross wall in superficial or a group of cell. Since this wall is pericrinal and each initial cell is divided into the outer and inner daughter cell. The sporangial cell is tissues is derived from the daughter cell. The sporangia is described as eusporangiate type in most of the Pteridophyta, and if it is developing from outer one, this is called the leptosporangiate one. This is a advanced Pteridophyta. This is a development of sporangia. Leptosporangiate if it is developed from the tip cells or the topmost cell. This is leptosporangiate cell. This is advanced one. This is happening into the particularly in the fern. And if it is developing from the lower cells or the downward cells, this is called the eusporangiate type of development. This is a primitive one. So, two type of sporangial development has also been recognized into the Pteridophyta. The Sporophyta may be of, it produce one type of spore. This is called the homosporous. The example may be the Lycopodium, Dryopteris, or Heterosporus, like the Selaginella, Isoids as well as the Marsilia. And the spore are haploid and germinate to give rise to Gametophyta. So if they are producing, there are two type of Pteridophyta is there. One of them is called those who are producing only one type of spore, that is called the homospory. And the second type is called they produce two different type of spore, microspore as well as the megaspore. And in this case, this is called the heterospory. And heterospory has been started from Selaginella and ultimately forming the seed formation of the seed habit. So seed habit has initially started, or the initiation of the seed habit has been started from the point when the two different type of spores has been produced. So this is a developmental issue. And another interesting point of Pteridophyta is that the spore on germination give rise to a haploid Gametophyta, or this is called a prothallus, and which is a small and inconspicuous. The Gametophyta in some Pteridophyta are subterranean, and in other they are retained within the resistant wall of the spore. The in Heterospory or the heterosporous Pteridophyta, megaspore which gave rise to female prothalli bear archegonia, and a small microspore male prothalli bear antheridia. So in homospory, the prothallus which has been there into the developmental one, and in the heterospory, the female prothalli as well as the male prothalli is a separate one. The another interesting point of Pteridophyta is that the Gametophyta or prothallus bear the sex organs. These are called the antheridia as well as the archegonia. Normally, the Gametophyta forms from the heterosporous, homosporous or monoecious one. Are monoecious. So monoecious जो है वो डेवलप होगा होमोस्पोरस जो टेरिडोफाइटा है, और इसमें एंथ्रीडिया और आर्चिगोनिया जो है वो सेम गैमेटोफाइटा और प्रोथेलस में डेवलप होंगे. द गैमेटोफाइटा फॉर्म फ्रॉम द हेटेरोस्पोरस टेरिडोफाइटा आर डायोसियस. दे आर सेपरेट वन फीमेल प्रोथेलाई एज वेल एज द मेल प्रोथेलाई. द एंथ्रीडिया एंड आर्चिगोनिया आर born to the separate male and female gametophyta. The male organ is called the antheridia, and this is a embedded structure. And in the eusporangiate one, जो यूस्पोरिंजिएट डेवलपमेंट होता है टेरिडोफाइटा होता है, उसमें एंथ्रीडिया जो है एम्बेडेड होता है, और लेप्टोस्पोरिंजिएट में इट इज प्रोजेक्टिंग. The mature antheridia, this is a structure of the antheridia. This mature antheridia is globular, and it consists of outer sterile wall, inside which are found a large number of endocytes. Each endocyte metamorphosized into the single motile anthrozoids is there. So motile is there. So flagella is also been there. The archegonia is a flask shape. This is archegonia. Archegonia is a flask shape structure with a basal swollen portion, which is known as the egg cell, which is consisting of ventral canal cell as well as the neck canal cell. So this is a basal portion embedded with the venter as well as the short neck. The venter encloses the egg and ventral canal cell. The neck contains the neck canal cell. Neck canal cell vary from 1 to 14. The 1 has been recognized into the Selaginella, and 14 has been recognized into the Lycopodium. A maturity that apical cell of the archegonia separate the neck canal cell disintegrate, forming a passage to the anthrozoids to reach the egg-cell. The gametophyta are exosporic and homosporous and endosporic in heterosporous ferns. The fertilization is accomplished by the agency of the water. The male gametophyte gamete fusion has taken on a female egg. Diploid zygote has been formulated. The very interesting feature is this is a similarity between the Bryophyta as well as the Pteridophyta. The water is an indispensable item. This is a liquid medium because the Antheridia is a anthrozoids are flagellated. They are motile. So how it can reach into the egg cell? So it reaches because the water is there. Water is a very indispensable item again for fertilization. The embryo is a young Sporophyta. It undergoes the division to form a new Sporophyta. The young Sporophyta attach to the gametophyta by means of food and draw nourishment from the prothallus until it develops into the own stem, root and leaf. The Sporophyta is dependent on the gametophyta only during its earliest stage. The alternation of generation is heterologous in all vascular cryptogams because the Sporophyta and gametophyta individuals present marked morphological and anatomical difference. So alternation of generation is the heterologous one because the once we are going for a morphological study as well as the anatomical studies of Sporophyta as well as the gametophyta, they are different one. These are two distinct individuals in the life cycles of vascular Pteridophyta. One of them is haploid one, gametophyta, and another one is a diploid one in Sporophyta. So these two phases are following in the phases from one to the another one in the regular session or in the regular succession. So two type of life cycles has been recognized into the homosporous Pteridophyta. This gametophyta, this visible plant body is a Sporophyta, which is a diploid one. It undergoes the IRD divisions, or this is forming the spores or spores of one shape and size, ultimately forming the into the prothallus. The gametophyta is there, the egg cells is there, as well as the sperm cells is there, and the anthrozoids are there, and this syngamy, the zygote formation has been there. So zygote is a diploid structure, and this zygote is ultimately forming the Sporophyta. The best example may be the homosporous Pteridophyta is the Lycopodium as well as the Diapteris. The second type is called the alternation of generation in Pteridophyta and heterosporous Pteridophyta. So Sporophyta is having the meiosis, macrospore as well as the megaspore. The male gametophyta as well as the female gametophyta. The female gametophyta forms the eggs and male gametophyta into the spermatozoid, syngamy, zygote, and ultimately zygote is going to convert to the Sporophyta. Sporophyta is a visible plant body. So alternation of generation of in heterosporous Pteridophyta, the best example may be the Silaginella as well as the Marchilia. So the point of interest is that the homospory, there is a one prothallus is there, and in this case of heterospory, two prothallus is there, the male prothalli as well as the female prothalli. After discussing the various interesting aspects of Pteridophyta, now we can say that what is the position of the Pteridophyta? So Pteridophyta are the evolutionary plant, and the position of the Pteridophyta is in between the Bryophyta as in between the gymnosperm. So they are more advanced than the Bryophyta. They are less advanced than the gymnosperm. So naturally there might be some similarity of Pteridophyta with the Bryophyta also. There is some similarity of Pteridophyta with gymnosperm also. There is some marked division between the Bryophyta as well as the Pteridophyta. There is marked division between the Pteridophyta as well as the gymnosperm. The first similarity between the Bryophyta as well as the Pteridophyta is that the sex organs. In both the group, the sex organs or the single ovum or egg cell is protected by the layer of single investing cell. The structure is called the archegonia, and it is a female reproductive organ. So archegonia is present into the Bryophyta. Archegonia is also present into the Pteridophyta also. The male reproductive organ is known as the antheridium. It is consisting of single layer of sterile jacket or sterile cell, which is enclosing a central mass of endocytes or anthrozoids, and this anthrozoids or endocytes give rise to single ciliate motile anthrozoids. So motile anthrozoids are there, flagellated anthrozoids are there, and technically this is called the archegonia. So this is a similarity between the Bryophyta as well as the Pteridophyta. The another similarity between the Bryophyta and Pteridophyta is the opening of mature sexual sex organs or reproductive organs, and it is formulated by the presence of the water. So water is an essential item, and it is conditioned by the presence of the water in the liquid stage. So water is an indispensable item for fertilization. There, without the water, the fertilization cannot take place. There are two different distinct phases of the life cycle. Two phases follows one another in regular succession, either the gametophytic as well as the sporophytic generation. The spores arisal in same manner in both the group. The spore mother cell are produced by the last division of sporogenous tissue. Each of the spore or mother cell then divide into the tetrad of the spore, during which the process, the reduction of chromosome number has occurred. So these are the similarity between the Bryophyta as well as the Pteridophyta. And you know that the Bryophyta is in between the Pteridophyta is in between the Bryophyta as well as the gymnosperm. So there are certain similarity between the gymnosperm as well as the Pteridophyta. The both possesses the independent Sporophyta. The visible plant body in Pteridophyta as well as the gymnosperm is a Sporophyta, which is a diploid one, and it is clearly consisting of root, stem as well as the leaf with well-developed vascular system. The alternation of generation is heterologous. Morphological and anatomical difference is also been recognized into the gametophyta as well as the sporophytic generation. So in this case, the gametophytic generation and sporophytic generation are morphologically as well as anatomically different. In both the cases, the female sex organ is archegonia in both the cases, in gymnosperm as well as the Pteridophyta. The gametophyta is highly reduced and inconspicuous. So this is marking the separation. This is marking the similarity between the Pteridophyta as well as the gymnosperm, but not in Bryophyta. In Bryophyta, you know that the gametophyta is a dominant generation, and development of distinct embryo after the fertilization. The embryogeny is endoscopic in both the cases of Pteridophyta as well as the gymnosperm. The presence of megaphilous condition, which has been recognized in Lycophyta. So Lycophyta and gymnosperm. So Lycophyta is more similar to the gymnosperm. So this is showing the similarity point. But as you know that the Pteridophyta are more advanced than the Bryophyta. They are less advanced than the gymnosperm. So technically Pteridophyta is in between the Bryophyta as well as in between the gymnosperm, into the higher side. So the point of interest is that the visible plant body in the case of Bryophyta is a gametophyta. The dominant generation is the gametophyta, while in Pteridophyta, the visible plant body is a Sporophyta, which is a diploid one, and this is marking the physiological supremacy of the Pteridophyta. And this can exist into the more adverse conditions, and they are more nutritionally independent to the rather than the Bryophytic phase. And also it is having more chlorophyll surface, so it can prepare more food. So they are bigger in size in comparison to the Bryophyta. The root become leafy, and a vascular sporophyta of Pteridophyta has a large, as much as highly differentiated stage in the life cycle of the history, is resemble gymnosperm rather than the highly developed sporophyta of the Bryophyta, which is rootless, leafless, and independent and totally dependent on the gametophyta. So this is marking the separation of Pteridophyta from the Bryophyta. But simultaneously, as you note that there is a sharp difference between the gymnosperm as well as the Pteridophyta, because the root of Pteridophyta is adventitious, and while in gymnosperm the roots are tap. And the root of tap roots are there, so giant size of gymnosperms is there. The pinus is there. The devdar is there. So these are giant size is there. So the giant size, how it can exist? So this is due to the taproot system is there. While however, the tree ferns has also been recognized, but their height is not as much. So usually the adventitious roots has been recognized into the Pteridophyta. The stele of gymnosperm is U stele, and which is not present into the Pteridophyta. Pteridophyta is started from haplostele and it is reaching up to the stellar development. And the presence of secondary growth in gymnosperm, whereas it is absent in Pteridophyta, however in Pteridophyta isoid, so somehow the secondary growth. The presence of ovule in gymnosperm absent in Pteridophyta. The presence of free nuclear division in the earliest stage of embryo development has also been recognized, and that marks the supremacy that the gymnosperms are more advanced than the Pteridophyta. Now we talk about the pteridophytic characteristics. Then we also talk about what about the position of the Pteridophyta into the plant kingdom in between the Bryophyta as well as the Gymnosperm. So there are certain similarities, certain major differences also been recognized. So Pteridophyta can grow in any habitat but prefer moist and shady place. The best example may be the terrestrial, maybe the Botrachia. The epiphyte may be the Lepisaurus selaginella, aquatic Marsilia salvinia, xerophytic selaginella. They maybe grow into the hydrophytic, mesophytic as well as the xerophytic. Three combination has been shown by Equisetum. As you know that the Pteridophyta are not very economically important to the human being, but they are the evolutionary important plant between the Bryophyta and Gymnosperm. So the uses of this Pteridophyta are soil binder. They stop soil erosion up to the certain axis. Some of them are into the medicinal experimental studies. Evolutionary important is there. Aesthetic beauty is there. Ornamental one as well as the less explored condition has also been recognized into the Pteridophyta. Now the another question comes in your mind that how the Pteridophyta is going to be distributed throughout the globe, or particularly into the Himalaya. So Himalaya, as you know, that the Himalaya is the home of Pteridophyta. Himalaya is the home of Bryophyta. Himalaya is the home of this Gymnosperm. So Himalaya is Himalaya. And the distribution is, for example, the Xylotum has been recognized into the tropical as well as the subtropical regions of the world, in abundant in Florida, Bermuda, Mexico, India, Himachal Pradesh, Bengal, Assam, as well as the Panchmari Hill. Lycopodium is cosmopolitan, 180 species has been recognized, colder to Arctic region, temperate, tropical and subtropical regions of the world. In India, eastern Himalaya and rare in Kumaon. Due to the moss-like appearance and club-shaped strobili, this is known as the club moss. Isoids has been recognized with 75 species. This is called the quillwort. Narrow and elongated grass-like structure is there. It is found in Europe, North America, and in India, 6 species has been recognized. The Selaginella, it is a widely distributed. 700 species of Selaginella has been recognized in different climatic conditions, and this is absent in alpine zone. 71 species has been recognized from the Himalaya. The Equisetum is recognized with 30 species of Equisetum has been recognized. North temperate zone, North America, rare in Arctic and alpine zone. It grows in high altitudes of Indian Himalaya. The fern or the Lycopodium consisting of 305 genera and almost 10,000 species is there. And Haltum 1949, it equated to Arctic zone. In Indian Himalaya, nearly 300 species has also been recognized. So, Ophioglossum, widespread, cosmopolitan and temperate, also occur into the eastern as well as the western Himalaya. Osmunda, tropical, occurring in tropical zone as well as the temperate zone. 12 species has been recognized, Kedarnath as well as the Simla. Glycinia, 10 species in southern hemisphere, tropical and subtropical region in India, and this western Ghat, eastern Himalaya as well as the Kumaon Himalaya. The Dryopteris with 250 species, north temperature, temperate condition, tropical and subtropical. Basu 1978, 41 species from India, from western as well as the eastern Himalaya. Pteridium is a monotypic cosmopolitan genus, entire Himalayan forest. Pteris 250 tropical, it occurs in tropical and subtropical part of the world. Hymenophyllum, which has been recognized as a filmy fern. Many species of Hymenophyllum has been recognized. Trichomans, Cythiaceae, the tree fern, which has been represented, the Cythia as well as the Alsophila. Hemitelia, Cythia spinulosa occur from this Himalayan region. The aquatic Marsilia is worldwide in distribution, Africa and Australia. 9 living species from India. Salvinia, 12 species from Africa. Salvinia natans and this Dal Lake. The Salvinia molesta is also been recognized from Kerala. So the point of interest is that the Pteridophyta are not very economically important to the human being, but they are the evolutionary very important plant, and they are the जो कड़ी है between the Bryophyta और Gymnosperms के, लेकिन उसके अलावा उनकी जो विशेषता है that you can recognize in throughout the world. So they are growing well into the different parts of the globe. So this is all about the Pteridophyta. Thank you very much.